Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter yet again. Miguel, what's up? How we doing? It's Sunday.
Yeah, I'm good. It's a good fall weekend, fall weather.
It's like that crisp, cool air,
Yeah.
and it somehow it all comes together because the leaves add to it too. It's the whole
hmm
aesthetic and the feel, and you're like, I will wear my favorite hoodie today.
Yeah.
Which I have to bust out my bright pink Albany CrossFit hoodie one of these
Mm.
days. I was going to do it because we were going to do uh, Pink Wednesdays, right? Is that still a thing, or is that just that
We
one time?
can. Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, see, we have to have special days to get us through these fall months. We need Pink Wednesdays. I guess we have weightlifting Fridays now since we're in our off-season programming. That could just turn really quickly into Max Out Fridays. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, that can descend. It already hit. It already did, kind of, right?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
we went
you went
for it.
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody did, but I give it a couple weeks until everyone's like, well, why don't I do another set and
Right.
start pushing these things? Because you guys will all start to get the hunger, the weightlifting itch, because we're not doing it 3 days a week. We have a lower body back type of day on Monday, and then a crazy killer upper body day on Wednesday, and then we have our weightlifting day on Friday because we're off season training. You only hit 2 of those days. How'd you feel about it so far? Were you really sore after the upper body stuff on Wednesday?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of soreness. Um, yeah, my back, like back of the shoulders,
Oh,
probably
yeah,
from the dumbbell stuff. So, I
yeah,
mean,
those fat rolls.
I like that kind of soreness, especially with like the bodybuilding type of stuff, because it makes me feel like, okay, we're gonna get bigger this off season.
You did something. It makes you
Yeah.
feel like you did something. It's not like the debilitating I did 150 wall balls type of soreness. That's
Right.
annoying a little bit. This is I feel like you got to move and pick up something off of a shelf and you're like, "Oh, I did some work the other day and I can
Yeah.
feel it." This is like a little a reward, a treat.
Yeah.
My favorite is the deadlift upper back soreness.
Mm.
It's like right along the traps, a little bit lower. If really get your back tight and and do that, that's one of my favorite sorenesses. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know
No.
if you have a favorite.
Um. Yeah. I think what I have right now, it's almost like a back pump, but it's like
Mhm.
all upper, so it feels good, not like lower
Yeah,
back. So yeah.
yeah. It's not an offensive soreness.
Mm.
Like I do like like a little bit of soreness in the arms. That's like another thing where you're like, oh, I did something today. I remember
Right.
the very first time in my life I ever felt that bicep arm soreness is when I was forced to do a lot of weed whacking.
Mm.
And because like your dad kicks you out of the house, is like go mow the lawn and weed whack and stuff. And holding the weed whacker, that really gets your arms going. And
Yeah.
I had no muscle at all or strength at that time, and I was like, wow, I feel like you feel huge.
hmm
You're like taking a shower, and you're like, wow, I have these giant guns right now from weed whacking once. So I do like that soreness, except for when it gets to be too much. Like the CrossFit, I can't straighten my elbows and
Yeah.
I have to walk around like this. I hate that rhabdo type of feeling.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've never gotten full on rhabdo. I don't think you have either, right?
Not sure if we can call it that, but
Not sure.
it was something.
All right, I maybe neither one of us. You could speak for yourself. Have gotten to the point where you go to the bathroom and you're like, "That's not the color that should be."
Well,
Oh gosh.
I don't know if it was from that though. It might have been the fact that I was taking so much like Advil, ibuprofen, like
Oh
to, because yeah, that's what they like tell you to do. Um, but that also messes with that whole deal. So who knows?
yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully neither one of us experiences that ever again. But I mean,
Yep.
it's going to happen though. I mean, in small doses. Everybody has a little bit of rhabdo-ish situation
Right.
going on. But the longer you do the activity, that starts to like go away and your body acclimates. It's only when you take like a serious amount of time off and then you come back in, you're like, yeah, I'll go RX and I'll go hard on this workout because I remember how to go hard. That's when you
Yeah.
get yourself into trouble. It's always those the ex athletes or returning athletes that you really got to watch out for, or kind of how you were getting onto here. Sometimes it's good to know about people's medications. I
Hmm.
remember in on ramp once, a guy did get rhabdo doing Diane, and it was a really really scaled back Diane, but we didn't realize that he was on all these medications that were not going to lend itself to all that
Right.
all that movement. So it was a different time back then. Now you got to learn more about people.
Hmm.
Speaking of learning about people, how did class go today? Overhead squats, heavy day. That's a fun day right there. I saw 5 people signed up.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's not a typical like Sunday style workout that we get. So yeah, it was interesting to just do a straight up like weightlifting, go heavy, go for load type of workout.
Yeah, it was like a reward after doing so many skills based type of
Right.
workouts.
Yeah, definitely.
Any PRs?
Yeah, definitely had a few. I think Nikhil for 5 got heavier than his previous 1 rep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
It's always
and a
good when that
couple other
happens.
like 5 rep PRs, and some people didn't fully know exactly what the numbers were, but yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, overhead squat is just one that it doesn't pop up a lot anymore, and especially for just a heavy day.
yeah,
So people might their numbers might be really, really old, but that's always fun when you have someone who you see their cruise and you're like, your 1 rep max is what? Whoa, we're already like 10 pounds away from that. You're gonna crush that today. And then
yeah,
getting them to do that 1 rep max for 4 more reps. And who knows, maybe the time they did it beforehand was just psychological, right? Maybe those were
yeah. I
different
mean,
times.
in this workout structure too, with warming up and everything, it was really like let's just talk about the overhead squat in hold positions, and because as I mean, my overhead squat, I was telling them is extremely slow. Like front squat, I can fly through those. My back squats have always, I mean, not recently, but are typically like fairly fast. But my overhead squat is, it almost seems every time I do an overhead squat, it's tempo. Um,
Yeah.
but I was kind of emphasizing those points of, okay, let's initiate the squat with the PVC pipe overhead and pause there. And are we squeezing the bar? Are we, where's our weight distributed? And then let's go a little bit lower and, you know, just making sure that everyone's positions were at a good point at each step. Because we did have a good amount of fails in those earlier sets,
Hmm.
but you could tell that they were purely technique. It wasn't like you're going too heavy. So then it was, all right, let's get that set up. Let's focus on this. And then, yeah, people were able to go a lot heavier just by like slowing it down or really making sure that they're doing the right things at each position of it.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be fast, and the faster you start to descend on every squat, the chances of it getting out of position and losing your balance are going up each subsequent rep. So I don't
Right.
know what the math would be on like from rep 1 to rep 5, how it compounds,
Hmm.
on your chances of losing it going up. But yeah, I liken it to like a bench press. The overhead squat is kind of like the squatting bench press. It's like control it on the way down, and then if you're gonna fire it on the way up as you reach through the bar. Think about a bench press. If you go really fast on the way down, all kinds of crazy stuff could happen. And I know
Yeah.
people try to bounce the bar off their chests and stuff like that, which I think is kind of what people are trying to do on the overhead squat, just rebound out of the bottom and get up with it. I think that works great on a front squat.
Right.
And we do 1 1/4 front and back squats all the time. I don't even know if a 1 1/4 overhead squat is a thing or why you would even want to do it. Like
Yeah.
it's I mean, it is a thing. Like I just said it. Like we can make it happen. But some of these exercises you have to think you're like, why? Like what's even the point of that for anybody? That it would what could you point out in someone's snatch that they would need to do that? On a clean, it makes sense. Timing out of the bottom and getting out
Right.
of there as quickly as possible, meeting the bar and staying tight through a difficult position. But on the snatch, the assumption is like the weight is already so light, and because of where it sits, it's all you have to do is just control it and stand up. Yeah, we had a little bit of weightlifting sneak in there just
Yeah.
now, but it's a cool topic to think about. When I was in California for the mentorship, uh, uh, the weekend there for the knowledge, that was one of the things that we talked about. The Tato Keto wrote a snatch progression on the board, and it was like 6 steps. And we had already been talking about how you want a progression to be 3 to 5 steps. Keep it short and concise and get to the point quicker. And there were moves in there like a jump and a shrug, a jump and a high pull, and things like that, and a muscle snatch. And so I raised the point. I'm like, well, it seems kind of redundant to have the muscle and the high pull at the same time. Or this might have been a clean, and that was in there. So it's like, why would you do both of them? And what
Hmm.
is the point of both of them? If we're gonna like eliminate steps, like think about in our barbell club, do we do high pulls with cleans often?
No, no.
They're kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
It's almost an exercise that I would say like useless, right? Like if we were gonna spend time doing other things, maybe I would just pick a muscle clean, at
Right.
that point. But it does make a lot of sense on the snatch, on why we would use it and warm up with it from time to time, maybe even train it with weight. But I find a hard time to make an argument for it in a progression to teach a class of people who are trying just to figure it out to begin with. And you have to think about if you're going to put advanced exercises into a progression, look at the snatch. Like if you were going to do in your class today a bunch of SOTS presses, why? Like what is that
Yeah.
going to do for them? That's a hard exercise for people who weightlift all the time. So it's like that would be an example of an advanced exercise in a progression for a general population, and you're doing it just because it fits a theme. Yeah, and I've done that before. I've totally done snatch progressions in classes where I'm like, oh, let's do some SOTS presses. Let's do these things, these cool things that I want to do, but
Right.
the class doesn't need to do,
Hmm.
especially at the level that they're at. I don't know. What do you think about all that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really what it comes down to is that they are really cool and you kind of just want to see other people do them.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, not always necessary. And if we're talking about a class and a timeline and really what they benefit from, I mean, there are some things that I bring up that maybe after class I talk to some of the athletes about. But yeah,
like
I
what?
think just when we're working on certain movements, even I got into a physics conversation essentially today with the overhead squat. We were
Nice.
talking about what type of like upper body strength is really needed in an overhead squat. And I was kind of talking about how like the strongest shape is a triangle and having your arms locked out kind of negates some of the weight. Like we kind of got into the weeds of it of like when you see people moving a heavy dresser or a couch and keeping your arms long versus the people who kind of hold everything up and how that weight feels different and kind of the same thing with the overhead squat of just having that locked out instead of you know some people in their overhead position is a little bit more bent so you feel it more along there. So I mean it's stuff like that or we discuss why certain people move a certain way with the different movement. um, yeah, like anatomy wise, why I might do something from the high hang when other people would bring it down to the knees. Um, but not everything needs to be done within a progression. Where I know for me, all right, this is where I would bring the bar if I'm doing this workout. But for most of you, it should be this. So we're not going to do both because that doesn't really make sense for you guys right now.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, things like that.
yeah, and that makes complete sense. And even yeah, everything that we're doing, one, it should have a why behind it. Like, why is Miguel even talking about this right now? because it's Sunday, it's a more laid back day.
Yeah.
We're doing one thing. It's a heavy day. You're giving them a little extra, you know. And plus, you're still a newer coach, so it's good, I think, for them to hear you speak like that. You know, I think it gives you more street cred, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But like if it's Tuesday evening at 5:15 and we're doing strength and overhead squat metcon after, maybe you cut all that out, you
Right.
know. And plus, most of those people are gonna be like, I really can't wait for him to stop talking so we can do the workout so I can go home and have
Yeah.
dinner. You know, like time and a place, right? There may be a day where you're like, hey guys, I don't normally do this, but let's. This is called a SOTS press, and we're just going to do a couple sets with PVC pipe. It's great for mobility to help us get in a nice position for these snatches today. You just add it to the general warm up, you know, like time and a place. Especially if you look around the room and you're like, I think this group can handle it, you
Hmm.
know. But if you have a group of people who they just got out of on ramp and you just have like a beginner's class roll into you, you're like they're trying to figure out what the snatch is, period, and I'm going to throw this out on them, you know. And then hopefully you don't get in a situation where they catch the bar and then they start pressing, you know,
Yeah.
because you can mess them up real quick right away. I've done that a million
Definitely.
times. I'm like, ooh, I broke the class today. I got to figure out how to fix it now. You know, no, no, no. That's just what we were doing in the warm up, and we're
Yeah.
not doing that anymore. That old conversation. So it's just a time and a place. Not to say that a high pull in a progression wouldn't work, but if you were going to try to make your progression as tight as possible and give them more reps on the main move, and each set of the main move, you have a different focus. You know, like, all right, guys, now we're going to jump and catch in a little quarter squat, but I still want those fast elbows from the muscle cleans that we did, you know, and you're not even worrying about the high pull.
Yeah.
And things with the high pull I worry about is like, am I teaching you to use your upper body or your lower body to move the weight, which is another task because
Yeah.
people don't feel what it's like to use their legs right away, and then they instantly want to go like, well, I've got to make contact with it, and it's like, well, hold on, if we move the right way, the contact should happen.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't have to. I know what it's like to artificially make the contact when you just lay back on the bar. You know what that feeling is,
Yeah.
right? You may have even done it on some of your power snatches at
Yeah.
states,
For
right?
sure.
You're like, I just got to make sure I put as much power into this bar as
Yeah.
possible. But you also know how to use your legs to move the bar
Hmm.
and then have your arms take over after the fact to complement it. It's like if you did a deadlift, where does the bar going to go? Right when you stand up normally.
Yeah. It's scraping the entire time, all the way up until it gets to, depending on your limb length, your hips, or,
Yeah.
you know,
So if you just stand up, it's going to touch your hips anyways,
yeah.
right? So if it doesn't touch your hips, that means you're doing something so completely different to stop the barbell from going to its natural end result.
Yeah.
You're you're like, why can't I get the hip contact? Because you're actually working against it. Like you're doing
Hmm.
everything possible to not get it. That's like a little coaching conundrum, right? Like you're actually doing things to not make the contact, and I have to figure out how to just get you to stand up normally. And I don't know, it might just be coming from the athlete overthinking, right?
Yeah. It's the same thing with like practice swings, where, um, for instance, last week when we were doing a bunch of pull up moves, or toes to bar, we would do the kip swings, two kip swings into, a knee tuck, or two kip swings into the toes to bar. And I would see great positioning on the two kip swings. And then you see, as the person's getting ready for the toes to bar, their eyes go down. They start to use more arms, and you're like, no, you had it. You had your positions perfect. If you just keep on doing that the same way, you'll get closer.
Yeah. You have to trust the movement progression that you've already been on is the one that's going to lead you to the
Right.
end result. I remember at Donnie Schenkel's seminar, not the one from this year, this would be 10 years ago now. He was talking about how one of the things he wanted to see from everybody as he was teaching his progression is to not get ahead of him. Don't anticipate the movement, because as soon as you anticipate the movement, you'll move differently. So when he instead of just saying go, he might have said, and go.
Mm,
So when he says, and, that isn't your cue to all of a sudden shift all your body weight to your toes
right.
to get ready to jump and catch. He's saying, he's telling you, get ready. And then when he says go where you are now, that's where you go. And so he made that point that like some of you may be able to pick out where we are in the progression and what comes next. You're going to slow down your movement or you're going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're talking about. Like they were doing beautiful kip swings, stringing things together, and here it comes.
Yeah.
Another good one example of that is the double unders, right? Single,
Yeah.
max effort, everything to get that. It's like, no, that was the exact jump. You just maybe have to give it a little more effort on the little jump and
Yeah.
spin that wrist. It's a tough thing to get people to buy into, because they want, what do they want? The
Mm.
result right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Some people.
I've been saying it too, where it's like you kind of have to be a little bit like you got to believe in your. I was saying believe in your kip a lot during that time, and I always say that just overall with these things. I'm like, I don't think people realize how close they are
Yeah.
to these movements. But yeah, you get to it and then you panic right before. And it's almost like they need to do it and then go, "Oh, that was it." And then they'll just have it. So I've been telling people to like believe that you have it already. Cuz that's another thing where if you already think you have it, you won't change anything when it's finally time to go for it. If you think you already have the double under after you hit those two singles, you'll just do it instead of going, I've never got one before. I have to do something that I've never done or something that doesn't make sense in order to get it.
And if you
Um,
have to do that, then you may actually succeed, but you're not going to get the next one,
yeah, it's not something that you can replicate from there. So, yeah,
It's funny, double unders, uh, toes to bar, muscle ups, pull ups, those types of gymnastics movements that I think are a little more dynamic in the kipping and mainly the snatch. They all kind of share that same thing in common. I don't know if there's another move that kind of fits into there. Like a handstand push up, it's kind of like a more blunt movement, I feel.
yeah,
Like you're going to go down and you're either going to push back up or not.
hmm,
The clean people seem to be more at ease with. Like I'm going to dive under it or I'm just going to push it away.
right.
So I don't know. Is there another movement that kind of fits that bill? And then I guess, outside of practice and encouraging people to trust and believe in themselves, what else as coaches can we do to kind of like mitigate that, to like cut down on the anticipation and changing things and just sticking with the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's stripping it down, doing a little bit less or focusing on the movement without the final step. So if we're thinking like a kipping pull up or even a kipping chest to bar, if we focus on the full kip swing and keeping your arms long until the last second, allowing people to see how high they can get on that kind of backswing without focusing on then pulling themselves into the bar. If we can perfect that, then the actual pull up portion isn't really anything. I
Yeah.
think when they think of the whole movement, they know that they have to pull with their arms, and I think that's what a lot of these movements have in common as well is keeping your arms relaxed until you have to use them.
Learning how to use the momentum
Right.
you've earned throughout the whole thing. Whether it's on the kip swing, on your back swing, you have to ride that wave to a certain point before you hop off. On the snatch, the bar's been building momentum, hopefully, throughout the pull, and now you're at a pivotal point where you have to keep going for like an extra half a second
Yeah.
on the top end of that pull before you go under, and it'll be fine. It'll land right where you want to. It seems like it's like a last minute change, or
Hmm.
if we're on the pull up bar, you see that really big forward kick where
Yeah.
like all the limbs go out and then they come back in. So yeah, I guess yeah, having people what you're saying is break it back down in the progression, right?
Yeah. And then just master that. But I mean, it's weird because people will think I haven't done a single pull up, but all those kip swings, if you're able to do those continuously, then I mean, you're doing most of the work. It's like on
And
the
it's so
rower.
much work. It's the kip swing. I think people get it twisted when they think about everything that goes on in like a CrossFit class. If you see just a workout, 21, 15, 9, toes to bar and overhead squats, that's all we're doing. That's not a lot of work. It's like, well, if I remember, this is training. So we're going to train the toes to bar and we're going to drill after drill. And maybe sometimes a lot of athletes don't see the value in why am I doing these stupid kip swings? I've got toes to bar. Why aren't I just doing more toes to bar? But it's like, yeah, but your toes to bar suck and they could be a lot better, and did you do them unbroken in the workout? No. Well, then it could be a capacity situation, or it could just be you're not efficient enough to keep the capacity.
Yeah.
Like you actually do have the capacity, but your movement doesn't reflect it.
Hmm.
So it's a hard thing to get that buy-in. But I think our gym does a really good job of like hey, like this is the work. If you want that toes to bar, this is the work you have to do. Most everyone that came before you had to do this work. I used to have that conversation with on ramps back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I did with your on ramp. I used to explain to people, especially like in a barbell sense, it's more easier to grasp. Like when you go to class, you're going to see people lifting weights that you want to lift. But what you have to realize is that it took each person next door time to get there. A lot of training sessions, a lot of strength development, a lot of time under the bar, but they all started where you did right now, an on
Yeah.
ramp, with just an empty barbell or a really light weight. Do you remember that discussion? Were you in an on ramp when I was doing those?
Yeah. Most likely. Um, yeah. Yeah.
It's people need a reminder of that, right? Because it's been years since on ramp, uh, and you have to start to figure out like, okay, I've been doing it for a while. Why don't I have toes to bar? So let's go down that rabbit hole, Miguel. Now,
Hmm.
someone's in your class and you're like, Miguel, I've been a member for 5 years, and I remember the old on ramp conversation, and I've been coming to class, all that stuff, but I still don't have toes to bar. Why not?
Yeah. And I know for me, it took a lot of time outside of class as well. Um, like we talked about earlier, there's not always time in class to fully break down each individual like progression and expand that progression from there within the class setting. A lot of it is on the athlete as well to not even research per se. I guess you could call it research, but I was big into looking into YouTube videos and Instagram videos of how people did things and just
Yeah.
testing them out before class, after class. And yeah, with me, I mean, there were some things that because of capacity before and in other sports, I was kind of able to get. But even now, it's the same idea where I think because of coaching, I'm getting better in certain positions because now I have to coach it. So it's just consistent work on positions and making things easier for yourself. A lot of people can get a muscle up and they'll chicken wing and if they're satisfied there, they'll stay at that level. But if you want to make them easier for yourself, you'll then continuously work on positions and breaking it down. How earlier I kind of stopped doing handstand push-ups and just did them off the box to work on my positions. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to go into it, a lot of hours. And sometimes just going to class, if you're not focusing on the specific movement by yourself, won't always get you there if you're not trying to take those next steps.
Yeah. I definitely, and I think that what you said is important. The person that gets the muscle up, all right, they chicken winged on their first one and whatnot, but not being satisfied there. That's, oh, I got it. And then just because you got it doesn't mean you should always use it. Like it's like, because then you're just going to start reinforcing that chicken wing over and over, and
Yeah.
now it's a pain to fix later. If I was going to put a percentage on it, I would say that for the majority of an athlete's lifespan, um, it's about 50-50. Like it starts off a little more skewed to the coach when you're first out of on ramp. I got to show you how to do everything. I got to scale you correctly, all that stuff. But then as we progress and it gets to more of a 50-50 level, on the coaching side of things, I have to make sure that I just don't default scale you every time to the same thing. Because even if we do see, we'll just keep using toes to bar as an example, see it regularly in the programming. Well, I'm just pigeonholing you now to forever be in knee tuck land.
Right.
I'm not challenging it in other ways. I'm not explaining to you, hey, today the best thing is going to be strict knee tucks. Tomorrow it's kipping knee tucks. The day after that, you should be doing straight leg raises. Not challenging it in different ways. Or maybe you don't like hanging from the pull up bar and I just let you just always go down to the floor, which time and a place. All right, got to remember, why is this athlete coming in? What do they
Yeah.
want for their goals? And then maybe it starts to skew a little more towards their way. But I think for the most part, 50-50, making sure the scaling is huge, making sure you're challenging them in the workout. If it's someone that has toes to bar, but maybe not 45 of them, all right, well, I just want you to do 3 every round and then switch to knee
Yeah.
tucks. So keep encouraging you to use them and to do the main skill and give you enough time to practice it in the skills portion. And even the practice round. Hey, Miguel, I want you to do toes to bar in the practice round today. It's 7-5-3, and that's like all the toes to bar you have for the day. But like you just got to use them. Yeah, your practice round was a little harder, but now when we go up to 21-15-9, now do straight leg raises or knee tucks or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like I just got you. How many is that? 7-5. That's 12. That's 15 toes to bar plus all the practice we just did. That might work for that day,
Yeah.
and then I want you to go faster in the workout and do knee tucks, something like that. So I think that's maybe more the coaching end of things, like figuring out the numbers, the X's and O's, what's the game plan for this day, and not just getting tunnel vision on like, well, Miguel always does knee tucks. That's what he's going to do today. That's easy. All right, Miguel, you do knee tucks, and then I'll go
Yeah.
talk to someone else now. And then for the athlete side, I think it's what you're talking about. Like, are you putting in the time? When Miguel is leading you through a skills portion, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna do 1 minute on trading back and forth between you and your partner doing these kip swings or whatever the drill is," and you half-ass it, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just gave you the time. He said, "Hey, I want you to get through 2 to 3 sets of this." You did one set, and you're like, "Well, I don't want to waste them for the workout," and you just don't participate. So if you don't participate, that's not Miguel's fault. That's your fault. Like,
Yeah.
or how is your nutrition on point? Are you doing the things outside of class that would lend themselves to getting a muscle up? You know, are you talking to your coaches? And then on the coaching flip side, are we asking, hey, how's your nutrition going? Like, I know you have these goals. That's a part of it. Don't forget the bottom of the pyramid. Here's some resources you can check out. Like, so I think it's still a team thing, but there are definitely moments to jump off where it's on you or it's on me.
Yeah.
We can both still make mistakes in this thing. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you as a coach and an athlete, you care a lot. So as the athlete, you're going to look up articles, you're going to look up drills, you're going to practice on the off time. During the workout, you're going to put in the work during the skills portion of it. And as a coach, you're going to hold your athletes to those standards because that's what you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Like if you were If you were one of a guy that didn't do that stuff, it just naturally came to you. And you're like, yeah, just get on the pull-up bar and do toes to bar. Why can't you do it? That's how you're going to coach people, probably.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I would say my kips have gotten substantially better in the past few months because I've had to demo them. And one thing that happens is like when we're doing little kip swings, I'm good. When we do the bigger kip, I would always bend my arms.
Oh,
And now that because I would do it and I would be like, don't bend your arms like me. And then I would like do better ones without bending my arms. But now I can just, it's normal for me to have straight arms the entire time. So like I know
wow,
that
good
my
demo.
positions are getting better because they have to, because I want everybody else to also get better with it.
Yeah, you don't want these 10 people that you're trying to get them to do it the right way to do it exactly the way you just showed them, because
Yeah.
that's how they're going to take it in. Like most people, like they're hearing what you're saying. All right, tell, show, do. But when you go to show them, they're like, oh, all right, that's what I'm going to try to do. And it's good that you tell your class, I can do that better. Hold on. That wasn't a
Yeah.
good that wasn't a good one. Look at my elbows. See how straight they are? I totally blew it on the last one. Don't do it that way. You know. And I think that makes it fun for athletes too, right? Like you're not trying to be like, hey, I'm perfect, I'm awesome, all these things. You guys should feel bad about yourself because you can't do it the way I do.
Hmm.
Like I think it's endearing to people to see you mess it up and draw attention to it. Like a lot of coaches, I've seen a lot of coaches that like if they make a mistake on anything in the class, that they don't fix it.
Hmm.
I think that's a bad quality. Wow, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, it can be probably embarrassing at some points to mess something up and you kind of go, well, either way, I'm just coaching. I'm not doing the workout.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, if you want your athletes to not follow that, then you kind of have to point that out. Um,
I
and
think
then
if you bring up a good thing real quick. If you're embarrassed, then you're not comfortable enough yet doing this. I would
right,
say, like like there's nothing that embarrasses me. So I've messed up so many crazy things in classes before, and I'm like, hold on, everybody, hold on. I told you the wrong workout or did something
hmm,
completely crazy. We gotta fix this. Or like who put the room set up like this? And they're like, that was your idea. All right, well, I'm changing it now. I don't like this idea
yeah,
anymore. Like you're just not comfortable enough yet. If you're like truly embarrassed enough that you can't tell these people, hey, we need to course correct. Like I messed that up. I cut you off. What were you saying before that?
yeah. It's they'll also notice that you're getting better at it. So if you don't point it out, then you can kind of just stay at that level. If you point it out and you go, yeah, this is something that I'm working on. I'm trying to get better at this. On my ring muscle ups, I know that my feet go way too high as I catch it at the top. So that's something that I'm going to work on. And
Do
when you
not wreck
have,
yourself.
yeah, like when you have people in class that see you demoing a similar movement over a few weeks, or, you know, if you're coaching every day, similarly, they'll also see that progression. Like we had a lot of handstand work. So I was demoing freestanding handstands. And over time, I'm like, I got up to 4 seconds this week. And I'm like, Pat saw me a couple of weeks ago and I completely flipped over. So I'm
Yeah.
doing better in them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that all helps the athletes trust you.
Yeah.
Like oh, okay, you're working on things too. You make mistakes too. You're not, you're establishing the standard. And then maybe one day you go to demo a wall ball and you're like, hey, if it doesn't hit the target, it doesn't count today. And then you whiff the first rep, and all of a sudden everyone's like, no rep. And you're like, all right, calm down.
Yeah.
Like. But like it's good that they do that and like get on your case, because they're gonna know it so well.
Hmm.
And now everyone's on board. You're not going to be in the middle of the workout and all of a sudden no one knows what they're not doing. Like they were just like watching you like a hawk, and like, watch him miss that wall ball target. I'm going to say, oh, and then, oh, I got him.
Yeah.
Because they love to get you sometimes, and it's
Hmm.
it's fun. And it's not personal. It means that they're paying attention to you, right?
Right.
and that's a good thing. If they didn't say
Mhm.
anything and everyone's checked out, then that's probably not a good class to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun things to think about. Fun things. Other fun things. Let's switch gears a little bit here. We found out you qualified for the American Open finals for USA weightlifting.
Yep.
Yeah, like you are the first person on the team to qualify for one of the big senior national events, either the American Open Finals or the national championships. They're for seniors outside of international events. Those are the big two. The Arnold's an open meet. Now they have a qualifying thing. And they always had qualifying totals, but it's a pretty easy one for everyone to get into, and the other AO series are the same way. So congratulations. This is a big accomplishment. Whether you go or not, it's a huge accomplishment. One that we did not know or were expecting to
Right.
to happen. And I thought you had to win, and that's what got you the invite. And I don't know when they changed it. If they changed it, they didn't announce it. There's no way they did,
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we would have known back in March. So for us to find out now in October, oh my God, Miguel qualified. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if ticket sales are down and they're just trying to get people, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
either way,
It's
it's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Um, it was weird. It was really weird even seeing the email. The email came in at like 2 a.m. Um, I ended up bringing my dad to the airport that morning, so I was up at like 4. I think I saw the email. I was like heading back to sleep at like 5. And I like looked at it and then I did the scroll and I saw my name highlighted and I was like, "Oh." And honestly, my thought was, I hope nobody else sees this email. And then, yeah, people definitely saw the email. So it was cool, but yeah, even now, just going through it in my head, it's like it very much was the goal. If you were to ask me at the beginning of this calendar year, like what the goal was, it was this. Um, to qualify, and going into the Arnold was kind of like, let's see where we're at, and then we'll probably do 1 or 2 meets to try to hit these numbers to get there, because that was the goal. But yeah, it's odd when your goal changes and then it gets brought back after you've it's almost like it's like Pet Cemetery.
Yeah,
Like you bury your pet and then you're like saying goodbye, and then like it shows up like a week later and you're like, "Oh, I don't know how to feel right now."
yeah.
Like, that's super great that you're here, but it's also really weird
You had already moved
because
on.
yeah, like fully, it's been months now. Yeah, over 6 months. So
Yeah, it was so surprising, and you know, at the Arnold, our good friend Timothy Luistro, our competitor and fellow New York weightlifter in the 61 kilo class, he he took second place in the total, and you took third at the Arnold. The gold medalist ended up testing positive for performance enhancing drugs, or well, not performance enhancing, but testing positive for stuff,
banned. Yeah.
and banned, and that results in a loss of results, which moved all you guys up. So now Tim is the Arnold champion. Uh, that's a big deal. I feel like USAW doesn't make as big of a deal of it as it used to be,
Yeah.
but it used to be the big three were the AO finals, the national championships, and the Arnold. And to
Yeah.
be Arnold champion, I don't know. I guess maybe some of us it still means something. It's not just another AO series. I don't think so. Like I think it'd be different. Like you getting silver medals now at the Arnold, to me personally, is different than if you got silver medals or any medal at the AO2,
Yeah.
because it's not the Arnold. Like
Yeah.
you're an Arnold silver medalist. Like I don't know. I don't know if it's the same with people these days, newer people to the sport, but I guess I was in still at the time when the Arnold was like one of the big three, and you
Right.
wanted to be Arnold champion. So that's really awesome. We found that out. Okay, the results changed, and then all of a sudden, I know Tim went to the AO2, and he won that, and then he made a post on how, all right, I qualified for the AO finals, but he had already qualified for the AO finals by just, I guess, being a medalist at the Arnold 6 months prior. So it's yeah,
Yeah.
it is a little weird that like he may not have even needed to go to the AO2 to try to accomplish that goal
Right.
because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's odd because your focus changes based on if you thought you already qualified and you knew that this was a meet you were going to versus, I mean, even if you were doing like a last chance qualifier and you might have to do a couple meets back to back or closer together because you're looking for these numbers and then you realize that you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Or like myself, like I can say confidently I would not have pulled my hamstring if I if I knew that I had qualified for finals. um
Yeah, it changed, you know, your whole like plan for the year was different. Okay, I'm gonna do states. That's more than likely my last meet of the year, unless I decide to do the 80K series two, you know, which is a local meet. Like that's a meet where like we can just train through that meet, just
right.
go and do some stuff. But the state championships was your last big one, and now all of a sudden after 2 weeks off and in the off season training, you get an email like, oh, hey, by the way, if you want to come to one of the biggest meets of the entire year, you're qualified,
Yeah.
like, and you're like, but I haven't been training, So it is a weird thing, like one could look on the negative side and be like, maybe this is detrimental to the athletes. What are you trying to do here?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, yeah, it's very mentally. When Renee texted me, my response to her was, "This has the potential to ruin the rest of my year," because I like even again because if you go back in time just to what the goal was and how you had imagined it, I would, even though like I love not cutting weight for competition, I would love to go to finals as a 61. Um, and that would be ideal for me in terms of like numbers that I want to hit and showing up there
And
with
I
the
think you could
competition.
still hit your
Right.
top end numbers at 61.
So yeah, I mean the goals really just change. I mean, I really wanted to close out the year and focus on, like, without that email, the goal is to get stronger as we do our bodybuilding power type of building to close out the year, and then to heal my body.
Enjoy the
Because
holidays.
right, like I feel like my biggest thing in my past few competitions has just been I would love to compete healthy, like feeling good going into a meet. um and yeah, with that email, immediately mind frame switches where it's like, I don't think I get that if I compete. I don't think I get to really gain strength in that time because we're just focusing on hitting numbers again. Like we're not really building too much, and healthy, I don't think that'll be possible. Like I don't think there's enough time. Like even my hamstring is still not, I could feel it. Like it's still not there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, I think we could get to AO finals anyway. We needed to.
Hmm.
You could cut down, which it's miserable, go as a 61, and we change the programming for you, and you do weightlifting 3 days a week with some supplemental strength, and we'll get there. Or you can cut down, and we still do the off season training with 1 day of weightlifting, maybe a little more focused, and you still show up and you're fine. Or we could stay at 67 and do both of those options. Like there's like there's a million things to do, and it's like it kind of puts you in a position where like you got to decide really soon what
Yeah.
what you're going to do. And now, you were on spring break or you were on summer vacation, and all of a sudden you have a class now and the final is due in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
What? That's tough. That's tough.
Hmm.
It's hard. It's mentally taxing to have something on your brain that there's a deadline coming up the whole time. Like I signed up for the level 4 evaluation in May, and it's even though there's been so many other things, it's like always just right there, just
Yeah.
floating above my eyes like a headache. It's like, hey, don't forget you got this thing at the end of the year. So like you can't, even though states is done, like for me too, I can't chill for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I still have to be focused. And then I don't know how you feel about this. I can't chill for the rest of the year. And then the next 2025 is going to start, and there's never any chill at the beginning of the year. So
Yeah.
okay, I get the chill next July. All right. Like it's like come on,
Yeah.
like and that comes with the territory of like in what we're doing, and we're trying to do big things and push ourselves and to be better. This is the burden of being better, that we're doing. But for you, it's entirely different because like it'd be like for me right now on Monday to find out, oh hey, you're taking the evaluation in 5 weeks. Good luck, like which okay, fine, I can show up and do it,
Right.
but will I feel prepared? Or like what is that going to do the rest of my year? It's the same thing with you. Like, oh, fine, we can do it. Any way you cut it, we'll show up. But is it what you want to do?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the email came in and I was like, am I going to have to change what I eat for lunch today? Like, because really it was like, oh, then it starts right now. Like the minute I decide, like everything has to change right now. Because that's not even a full training block. That's
Yeah,
you get
that's
like 2 weeks of after us not even training for the past 2 weeks to relearn how to snatch and clean and jerk and then taper. So
yeah.
yeah,
And we got the holidays coming up. There's going to be around Thanksgiving some days the gym aren't open,
yeah,
which, hey, if we're doing this rodeo, I'm not opposed to popping in late at night. All right, Miguel's got to get his lifts in.
yeah,
Like I'll drive over there and we'll force other people to come in. So you're not lifting by yourself. It's like, we'll do what we need to do. That's the thing. Like, at least we have the resources. We'll do it.
yeah,
Like, I'm not opposed to not doing it. All right. It's Black Friday. The gym closes at 6. When do you guys want to come in? We can still come in normal time. I'll just open it up. You're like,
yeah,
because we have a deadline to meet. But yeah, and then it is just like, of course, everything has to be on the same freaking weekend.
hmm,
Like everything. Like my level 4 is that Friday. You'd be lifting on Thursday. At least it would at least both things are on the same side of the country. You
yeah,
know, at least. But then Frank is doing the Howard Cohen USA Masters National organization, and that's in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. So like, why does everything have to be the same weekend?
yeah, yeah,
Come on. It's just like the 80K series too. Haley was going to do it. You were going to do it. I don't know if Jennifer is going to do it, but it's the same exact day of meet on a Sunday when my swim meet is. It's like, come
yeah,
on, like there's more weekends than these weekends. I don't
yeah,
understand how everyone picks the same weekends. Um, or even the same days out of those weekends. Like if the meet was on a Saturday and my swim meet was on a Sunday, that works out.
right.
But so yeah, I don't know. You seem to be thinking about it. What you don't have to say now, but when do you think you'll have a decision, or do you have a decision on what
I
you
think I
want
have
to
my
do?
decision. Yeah.
Okay, my guess is you're not doing it.
No, no.
Okay,
Which I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just it wouldn't be fun.
yeah,
I would have no fun for the rest of, and I
the
know
rest of the
like
year.
my like, hardcore sports competitive people, even myself at times are like, oh, it's not always supposed to be fun, but this would be like when I mean like it wouldn't be fun, I don't think any of us would enjoy the process. Like you, me, it would just be too stressful. And I'm making training unbearable for everybody else around as well. Like my
I don't think we'd ever see as like snappy or crabby of a Miguel in training until until what this could have been.
yeah, like work would not go well either. Just friends, family would be like, "Ooh, this is something." Like it would be insane.
Yeah. And you know, we might have some people that might be wanting to try to go out to be helpful. I know there's already some talk about that. I've been trying to figure out like, okay, my evaluation's on Friday. Most likely Miguel is lifting on Saturday or Thursday. So see,
Yeah.
like that's like a shitty part too. It's like don't even know.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to like, all right, I can fly down. It's a 5 hour flight. Get there, coach you, high five. I got to get the back to
Yeah.
Colorado, and then get back there, and hopefully that's not like a marathon of a day. And then the next morning, I don't know. See, I don't even know what time my evaluations
Yeah.
are.
And hopefully there's no bad weather, any rain or storms or,
Yeah,
there's too much that could
yeah.
possibly.
I get a layover in like an in between. I'm like, all right, well, shit, I have to be there. Time to rent a car and drive for 10 hours, you
Yeah.
know, or whatnot. Which I mean, hey, no matter what, like I'm not worried about that evaluation at all. I'm going to do the best job I can, you
Yeah.
know. It's like I told Shaf the other day. I'm gonna walk in and slap it in the mouth, like it's a big scary person that I'm not afraid of. But when I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna do the best job I can. That's all I can do. Like just bring my current skill set in and get evaluated, right? And then hopefully it goes the way I want it to go. And if not, all right, at least I tried it. You know, I would rather try it and fail it than to be in a constant situation of like, when am I gonna take it? You
Yeah.
know, or like, or yeah, I could take it and yeah, I would pass it. Like, I don't want to be in that kind of situation. I want to just go and find out. And then if I don't pass it, everything I've done this year has essentially been based around that.
Hmm.
Like, I think that I've still gotten something out of it. I've still gotten better, you know, all the practice, all the things, going to California. If I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't have gone to California, you know. I wouldn't have left the house for 2 weeks. You know, I
Yeah.
would have just been recovering for states perpetually. So it's like I think that I've gotten enough out of the journey that it's already been worth it.
Hmm.
Now I just have to actually go and do the thing. So even if it meant going to Arizona, coaching you, getting back up there, and then doing it, I think the result is the same no matter what. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no amount of missed sleep or this or I didn't eat. It's like I already don't eat and sleep, you know, in most of these things. I already have to run an event across 4 days on 14 hours of sleep. I already have done all these high stress things that like it's
Hmm.
fine. You know, this is actually the most comfortable place for me to be in. So even if it is a little uncomfortable, it's already my most comfortable place
Yeah.
versus other things, you know. Um, in California, I didn't even notice that there were people watching, you know, which was one of my concerns. Am I going to be focused on them the whole time?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I didn't even really notice it. You just forget after a while. So, yeah, I would be totally down to just try to make it work, which is maybe not a good thing too overall on what we're talking about. I'm like, all right, Miguel's going. Well, I'm going to go. You know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
can't keep me away from that. Of course, I want to be there. You know, of course, everybody wants to be there.
Yeah. And I think this is almost like a more wishful thinking scenario where I don't sure this was the goal. I don't like this opportunity. There will be a better opportunity where I
Yeah.
make it there that I'll enjoy the process better. Whether that takes me 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. I don't think that there's like I think I end up there eventually anyway. Like this isn't my only chance. So
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
okay passing this one up.
I would say if you had a desperation like this is your only chance, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
You know, It's like, and plus, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you had won the Arnold and you were the gold medalist, and we already knew, and then this second thing got added in, I think that's different.
Hmm.
Versus like them taking all the medalists. It's like, well, are you just giving me my goal because you need something out of it? You just need my body there? That seems not
Because
right.
yeah, now I'm thinking like, oh, well, if that's how they're gonna do it, if it continues to trend this way, maybe I don't have to do anything crazy and I'll just go next year. Like,
Yeah. And you can actually plan for it,
yeah,
because they're not going to all of a sudden be next year like, oh, only the gold medalists go. Then
right.
what was that about?
Hmm.
Like letting the bronze and silver medalists go? Is that just a thing we're doing if not enough people are committing to going because it's kind of getting really expensive to do these
Yeah,
things? So yeah, if that's going to be the game plan going forward, now we can actually plan for it.
yeah.
Um, did Yeah, actually, this was the first year you medaled at the Arnold. We did medal the year before, but I think we were in what, the B session, or was that also an A session?
No, they did a weird thing where they broke us all up in I think like 3 or 4 separate sessions. So I
Oh,
think technically I think I was maybe in the C session,
okay.
but
The
I
one
think
where all the kids went first.
yeah, yeah. So I think I still ended up like fifth or fourth.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I ended up fourth in like one of the lifts in like fifth overall. But yeah, didn't really lift with anybody else
yeah.
in the
All
same
right,
class.
that makes sense. I
Yeah,
do seem to remember now a fourth or a fifth, and yeah, I don't know why they broke it up that way that one time,
yeah.
unless
It
they
was
were
odd.
going to have some kids that were really going to, and I guess it did shake out that way. So it makes sense. But you would think a fourth or a fifth place finisher probably should have been in the B session
Right.
at least. I mean, and also to like let you lift with your peers
Hmm.
versus holding down the C session,
Yeah,
which it was probably like a very literal cutting off of the entry totals.
I think so.
I think that has happened to Haley, I want to say, on like, well, you could be in either one of these.
Hmm.
And it maybe even would be more appropriate to have you be in the other one. So you're lifting with people in a session that's going to flow. I mean, appropriate for us because the session will flow better
Yeah.
where we're trading instead of like, all right, Miguel, the session just started. Are you ready to wait now 45 minutes? Like,
Yeah,
that's tough.
it's interesting because I'm typically, especially if I put in my own total, I'm 100% going to undershoot. Like, at least I'm going to put in my openers together, my
Mhm.
projected openers, and then that's my entry total that I'm putting in. It seems like some people put in like their max lifts. I don't even know if they've ever put them together, but they go, well, my max snatch is this, my max clean and jerk is this, so entry total's this.
I think
I
so.
almost definitely put in something that I know I'm gonna hit. No, to me it's like, what if somebody looks at the paper of what I put in my entry total and then I'm like 5 kilos under that, and I'm like, I don't want that. So I always tend to undershoot.
I mean, it's still within the rules,
Yeah,
don't
but
get me
I personally don't like it.
Yeah. I think when I registered you guys for the Arnold this past year, because I did all the registering,
Right, this year
um,
yeah,
I think I took some liberties, but
you did indeed.
with the 20 kilo rule in place, and also on like what we could hit, like
Right, yeah.
if when we connect, like all right, like I don't think it was by a lot. It's like all right, well, I'm expecting we're going to connect with 95 soon,
Hmm.
so I might have put that, for the snatch, and then I'm expecting we could potentially connect with this on the clean and jerk. There's our total, and it fits within the 20 kilo rule.
Yeah.
Uh, the only time that gets maybe a little hairy is if an unexpected thing happens, kind of like with the passing out and the getting dizzy, and like, crap, we have to bump things down. I don't have a lot of room now.
Hmm.
But that was an unforeseeable thing that just kind of popped up.
Yeah, and I think we
Uh,
were still well within the 20 kilo rule, even
yep,
with that.
yep, we were. The magic of the numbers, and
Yeah.
what could possibly happen. But I think this is a good choice. No need to rush it. Um, no need to just do it because they're
Yeah.
saying you can just do it. And I'm not, like I'm just waiting for you to tell me what to do. Like I'm just waiting and ready. If you're like, hey, I'm doing it, then I'm like, okay, I will be there. If you're
Hmm.
like, hey, I'm not doing it, okay, cool. Off season training.
Right.
Let's do what we need to do. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like I'm still the same amount of points out from national coach stuff anyways. And
Yeah.
also I I wouldn't want anyone to pressure themselves to do something because of that, of what
Hmm.
I'm trying to accomplish, because I have the same mindset of you. It will happen one way or another. It's
Yeah.
inevitable unless I completely stop coaching and weightlifting, which that doesn't. I'm in too deep at this point, you know. Then it's going to happen. I just need to let it run its course. And I'm I think of the same mindset of you of like I would rather be more meaningful than, like than to just like, oh, they opened up spots. Let's just
Yeah.
go and do it. Like I would rather you be at nationals and you're in tears on the podium and we're all clapping. Like like I would rather be the more meaningful route, the
Yeah.
earned route, because there's a lot of ways I could accomplish that goal very, very quickly. Like I could make that my goal in 2025 and go to the high school over here and we'll get it done.
Hmm.
But I would rather it be when I put down the names on the paper, oh, Miguel Porter got me here at this meet and all the things that went into do that. Kim Severs, because I have 3 points from Kim from the World Championships. All right, that got us there. Like instead of just like Tom, Dick, Harry, Susan, they were gone in a year. I don't even
Yeah.
know them. Yeah, like
Hmm.
I don't know. I like the long game story.
Yeah.
Well, it's more fun that way, right?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
If you're going to do this for life, it's definitely, I think, more fun.
Yeah.
And there's no going back now. Once once you try to stop Miguel, weightlifting will pull you back in. It's like the
Yeah.
mafia. Do you get
Yep.
that? Do you get that feeling, that sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't even. I know. So I see that look on your face. Like you don't even like it. Like that.
It's
Like there's nothing you can do. It's out of your control.
yeah, it would be great to like feel the stopping point and like hit it and be like, we did it. I'm done. But
Yeah.
nope,
High
not how it
fives.
works.
You walk into the sunset. You're like the
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk hitchhiking onto a new next adventure. But no, they'll find you there in
Yep.
that small town. You've started working at the local diner. You're washing a table, and then someone sits down, and then they place their order. And you're like, that was a familiar voice. And the newspaper comes down. It's James McGill. Way to go. And you're like, how did you find me? I'm like, I always knew where you were going to go because it's where I would have gone.
Yeah.
We need you to run for the New York WSO board and to be the president. To be the president. I'm putting together a team of Avengers.
Yeah.
Uh, eh. Well, hey, what else are we gonna do? You know,
Yeah.
what else are we gonna do? Except the exact same thing in other activities, right?
Yeah.
The I just realized that the I've been my swimming terminology is all off. What I've been
Mm.
calling the front stroke, I think, is actually called freestyle.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because I looked through the rule book to see if what I do is going to be legal, and I have some questions because on the breaststroke, they're saying your head has to break the plane of the water, but remember, I don't go under the water,
Hmm.
so I'm like, all right, is it okay if I'm just like up here the whole time floating across the pool? And I think it is from what I've seen. But then I was like, well, where's the instructions on the front stroke? And then they emailed me back, what is that? And I'm like, oh, let me figure this out now. Well, where's the disconnect? And I think it's because it's freestyle. And when
Yeah.
I read in the rule book, the rules on freestyle, it says you can use any style or technique. And I took that as in the freestyle competition, you can breaststroke. I can do this stroke.
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
thought it meant, what
Mm.
freestyle meant, based off of that sentence. Oh, we might all be doing different things, and it's whoever's the fastest. That's that's not the case. So I'm learning things. I keep emailing them all my questions on like, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? I'm that guy now.
Yeah.
It's fun to be that guy, you know.
Yeah, it's great to not get those emails. So
Yeah, I'm not the one getting them now. I'm the one sending them, you know. 'Cause I start every one of my emails off the same way. Hey, I've never done a swim meet before, and I read the rule book, and I still don't get what I have to do here,
yeah.
because they have block starts, pool deck starts, and in the pool starts,
Hmm.
where you can just push off against the wall. And I'm like, well, hey, you know, like it does it doesn't specify like can I start in the pool, because I'll be wearing these guys, and I've
Hmm.
not tried to dive face first wearing my glasses in the pool yet, and I don't want this to be the first time. And probably when I'm at that point, I won't be wearing my glasses, or I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't be wearing my glasses. But apparently, I can start in the pool, which it seems like I can understand why it's okay, because it would be a disadvantage to start in the pool
Yeah.
versus the people up on the blocks. They're going to dive forward, and I just got to start pushing and
Hmm.
get going. But I'm fine with all disadvantages. I just want to confirm that the James McDermott way is going to be okay for this one,
Right.
and I can just get in that pool and we'll do whatever, you know. It is interesting seeing some of the rules on like social media.
Hmm.
Cameras and phones prohibited, and it makes complete sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you got people in all different phases of undress and bathing suit,
Yeah.
and some people may not want to be in the background of your video when they're
Hmm.
just like in their speedo or something. So that makes sense. I was like, okay, I get that. You know, not that I was planning on filming anything, but I was like reading it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because
Yeah.
in weightlifting and CrossFit, we're such hyper filming everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to the point where you have a camera person following you around. You know, you're not going to see that, I don't think, in swimming. Your
Hmm.
personal photographer is there at the end of the pool,
Right.
clicking things. So yeah, it's fun and interesting to learn about a new sport. Um, the officiating, everybody has a different job. One person's supposed to make sure you're kicking correctly. Another person's supposed to make sure you're not transitioning to the turnaround before a
Hmm.
certain point, which I have no idea when those are around. I typically transition when I touch the other side. So that's
Yeah.
I'll be well within the rules. I did notice at one point there were only about 6 people signed up. I don't know how big this is going to be. Um, I keep getting the emails on like they're like, "Hey, please sign up," and I'm like, "I all right. I hope this doesn't get canceled." I don't know what the threshold is. Like if it's just me and 5 other people, like I'm assuming we're still going to do this thing.
Yeah. I would assume so.
I mean, it's the 50th anniversary, so I don't think they'd want to cancel it. Like
Hmm.
this seems to be like I bet this event used to be like the jam back in the day. Like imagine it on its 25th year, probably
Right.
packed full,
Hmm.
you know. But now it's in year 50. Now I think they're keeping the legacy going, which is a good thing. I think that's important.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to come in there and rack up all the medals and just be the only one floating around the pool. They're like, "Is that guy competing right now?" It's like, "Oh, okay. Oh, that's just how he swims." Okay, all right. Yeah, it's his first time. Don't scare him off. We need him to
Yeah.
come back next year. You know, so that'll be exciting. Well, we're not doing the AO finals. You get to enjoy the rest of your year. This is exciting. You can sleep well at night now.
Yep.
I don't know if you had like a couple nights of just unrest, with the whole thing. Um, but yeah, it's exciting. I think off-season training is going to go well. I think we're having a lot of fun with it already. I think people have been almost craving a little bit of this,
Yeah.
and I think after we're done, there's some things that I think that maybe should remain periodically in the programming. Um, kind of things like the Bulgarian split squats, for example. Just one of the things I tried to do was to pick exercises that were weightlifting adjacent
Yep.
a little bit, and we could do bodybuilding s reps and volume and stuff with. But also a lot of the things that we're doing are training the hips in extension,
Mm.
which I think I mentioned that possibly last show or just to you in passing. We don't do that a whole lot outside of the lifts themselves. Like, all
Yeah.
right, we're going to do a complex of high pulls and then, a snatch. And of course, you're getting hip extension there, but now we're actually holding hip extension and pressing overhead or doing, squats and stuff like that. I think it's an important thing we've been lacking in the program. If there's two things I could pick out, of course, they both involve the hips, would be training the hips while in extension through accessory exercises like the jerk stance press, which is like abnormally hard, or like the Bulgarian split squats, and then something like a prone um, hamstring curl,
Yeah.
where we're training the hamstrings where they cross the knee joint and not just the hip joint, which is what we predominantly do. I don't know. Are there any other things that you can think of that, you know, in a sense of trying to get better at weightlifting that we're lacking? Like both of mine kind of focus on the hip. I don't know if there's anything else that we're kind of missing.
I wouldn't say so. It's hard to tell, honestly, just because we keep on improving every year in
Yeah,
every cycle anyway. So I'm like, yeah, but yeah, I do think that those will be good additions just
yeah,
to, yeah, just to build. Yeah, there are certain things that I see with other lifters that I think a couple years ago at the Arnold, I was seeing a lot of saves with like lats involved or like,
mhm.
really just that stability there. So I don't know, like stuff like that. But I think we do a good job with that type of stuff as well.
Yeah. Um, I guess if I was going to add one other thing to piggyback off of that would be more frequent back work. Like, hey, maybe there isn't a reason why we're not always doing rows and stuff on a day four.
Hmm.
Like, just tons and tons of back development work. Um, I would say would be one thing that we could add in. Um, but yeah, it's like you guys are continuing to make progress, which is kind of weird,
Yeah.
like that, like everybody like it because like no matter what we do, we're squeezing PRs out of it. So it's like, is the athleticism getting better? Is it the strength? It's probably both. Like we're well past the beginner phase, and it seems like there's always, results at the end of the cycle. Not always the same type of results.
Hmm.
It might be all right. You PR'd your snatch, but we didn't PR the clean and jerk. But then months down the line, we'll PR the clean jerk at a meet. Like it's like it just keeps coming, and we should have had. Yeah, there's arguments against a group program, and everyone's like it has to be individualized program, but we haven't run into that problem. The group program continues to work, and like, would it be better if you were following a completely different program than Haley and then Schaff and stuff? I don't know. I don't know. We could try that eventually, but then does that is part of what drives our progress just the group atmosphere to begin with? You
Yeah,
know?
I think so. And it's also like, oh, Schaff is improving because he's doing these pulls. I have to figure out a way to make these pulls work for me as well,
Yeah,
and also PR from them.
yeah,
I think that's part of it too, where even though I might feel more comfortable already doing these positions, if someone's able to improve their technique overall because they're doing them, I need to find what I can pull out of this thing to also improve somehow. So, or
yeah,
even, you know, keep that knife sharp. Like if it's already great, I can make it even better.
yeah. It's like if we're doing a snatch complex, one snatch, one hang snatch, three snatch balances, and you see that Schaff is getting a lot out of it, it drives you to figure out, well, it may not have been for me that the reason it's in here for the group, but I need to figure out a way that to squeeze some juice out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what typically happens. Like a lot of times, I've mentioned this a long time ago, years ago on the podcast. A lot of times when I think about what are we going to do the next training cycle, it's based off of what did we do the one before, what am I seeing across the board that you guys are lacking? And especially now I'll read the cards. And if you're saying all the time you need to keep the bar closer, and Jennifer's saying all the time that she needs to move her feet better. And like I just kind of take those elements and it's like, all right, if Jennifer needs to work on it, everybody else can be better at it, period.
Yeah.
Like we're not the most perfect, bar close people or the most perfect footwork people. All right, some of you guys get a little jump forward. All right, well, that Jennifer's goal is going to help you iron out your little subtle thing. And if you iron out that subtle thing, that should yield top end results.
Yeah.
And it's not like anything that we do is easy either. It's always hard, I don't know. Do you ever like long for like, can't we just do easy stuff for a while? Like it seems like it because like I also have to consider the fact that like it has to get harder in new ways to squeeze out results too. So I have
Right.
to keep pushing you guys to like a new crazy limit, versus like what we were doing back in 2021, you
Yeah.
know, as an example. And sometimes we'll revisit those same drills and it's harder now because you guys are way more capable now. And
Yeah.
which means you guys can express a top down snatch way better than you could back then.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's just fun to think about. I don't think that we need necessarily an individual program because I'm already thinking about the team on what does each individual need out of the
Yeah.
program, and then we still make tweaks from there. It's not uncommon for Schaff to add high pulls, for his warm up sets when no one else is doing that. I kind of feel like that's one of the better ways to make it individualized. It's kind of the CrossFit way. Like here's the workout. How do we need to modify it for you, right?
Yeah.
There was a point where Jennifer and John were doing 5 to 8 sets when you guys were doing 5 sets or 3 sets because they're going so fast. Their engines are so different, and the weights had to be the weights they were for John because any heavier and he's just going to have a hard time with it anyways based on where he's at.
Yeah.
And for Jennifer is always operating at a 90ish% level. You know, just there's little tiny things that break down when we get to like 101. Um, but Jennifer has an engine that can just keep on going.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's more of a mental engine than a physical one.
Mm.
I think sometimes Jennifer is always very quiet over there on the corner, except for that one time when she gave Alex a lot of shit about the way his face looked on a jerk. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was great. I love that. It's one of my favorite moments from the year. Uh, but the I think sometimes over there, Jennifer. Let me know if this makes sense. I feel like Jennifer's going for extra sets or going fast sometimes to like low key trying to break the rest of you, and not just because of the engine, because Jennifer could do CrossFit workouts, but she just didn't like that
Yeah.
stuff, you know. But for this, like, oh yeah, I'll just go earlier now and see if anyone follows. That may not be on purpose, but maybe subconsciously, it's like I think sometimes it does work. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I've said something similar. Um, there are times where I'll pick up, like, especially if I'm really tired and I see that everybody else is really tired, I'll pick up the bar quicker. One, to prove to myself that I'm better than everyone, and two,
Yeah.
to let them know that, like, all right, like, I'm working. I know that we're all working here, but I'm not going to get left.
Yeah.
And I see, because I do the same thing where I'll look up and I go, oh, Shaf is going on to his next set pretty quick. I guess I also have to go pretty quick because
Yeah.
we're all working on off of like similar percentages. So if he's able to go that fast with 80%, why can't I go that fast with 80%?
Yeah. I think that is the way you guys kind of operate in the environment is that's why anything we're doing is going to yield results,
Yeah.
you know. And then when we go to competitions, we don't make crazy wild jumps. We have a goal for that meet and we typically get very close if not accomplish the goal for the meet, and each meet brings out something different. Like at the regional, no matter what the program was, you guys are going to die for kilos at the
Yeah.
regional because it's your house and people are in your house now lifting on it, thinking like they can walk around, and do stuff. Can't allow that. You got to go out there and PR your clean jerk by 7 kilos or PR your snatch. When we're passing out in the back. All that, all of you guys rise to the occasion on it. Like a Tanzira having rough training sessions will go to the regional and snatch 70. And you're like, how did that happen? It's
Yeah.
like, well, all that work before, even though frustrating because you're not connecting with lifts, still put in the time to get here, you know. And then states is a whole nother animal. And yeah, so every little thing we do, it kind of helps out with that. It's fun to think about. And I think we finally have just the group that's going to work with, you know. Every now and then you might get people join in the barbell club, and like they just won't last because of the environment. I feel at this point, you know. um, I give everybody a lot of support, so it's like you can't say if you're not supported. And the program is there, so you have to do, there's the work you have to do with it. You guys are just really good about being like, well, all right, uh, we only have these ingredients right now, what magic can I make with it? It's kind of like not Master Chef. What's that one cooking show where they get a box of random ingredients?
I think they do that on Chopped.
Chopped, yes, yes. Our program is like Chopped anymore. It doesn't matter what's in the box. You guys have to figure out how to elevate it to
Yeah.
something, and bring something out of yourself with it. I don't know if it's a very unique situation. I don't know if this would work with another team. You know, like
Yeah.
the but then again, if let's say if I moved across the country and started a barbell club, I would just start it with, you know, a program, and then let it take on a life of its own. You know,
Yeah.
it's the fun part about it. You know, I think it's a super easy thing to do: snatch, clean jerk, squat, keep it simple, and then in time it can get complicated. It's like we were talking about with the progressions earlier in this discussion. You know, we did earlier this year in our programming like a series of different types of jerk dips that seemingly didn't seem any different from the one before, and some of them worked out better for some of you. And like, could I have just been like, we're just doing this one? Yeah,
Yeah.
but I wanted to see what would happen if we do all of them. You know,
Hmm.
that would be probably an example of we didn't need all of that progression. Probably, like looking back on it now, would I do that? Probably not. But like I have to experiment with things from time to time in the program to see if something sticks really, really well for some of you guys, you know, or what it'll bring out. But we could have easily just done jerk dip squats. We didn't need to do the popping or any other stuff. And then there were some days where like, oh, this one drill is kind of really awkward. Maybe no one needs it. Maybe
Yeah.
this is one of those like useless drills. But like we're not going to find out until we throw it in the mix, you know.
Hmm.
And then if I need to, I could just say, all right, we're going back to this one, and no one's gonna, you know, like no one's gonna probably be like, wait, I thought we had four of them. We were no, you guys probably don't remember that, right? That we are doing four of them.
Yeah. I mean, everything we don't necessarily know. So when things drop off, when they get added in, we just think that's a part of the regular progression of it all.
Yeah, I mean, there are times during this year I think where I just forgot what we were doing and I said the wrong thing, and we just did it that way.
Yeah.
But it's still we were still there. We were still training, right? You know, there's kind of like a not a mystery box, but like an unknown knowable part of the workout, because I don't even think all of you guys even check Wodify to see what we're doing. You just kind of
Not,
remember from
it's
the
random.
week before.
It's random if I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And then sometimes you'll check it, and then I would have changed it around two or three because I realized, oh, I typed it in wrong, or it didn't carry
Right.
over from the week before. And then you guys, I thought we were doing three. I'm like, no, 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 I messed it up. Or I remembered that it was a bloodbath the week before, and I had a mental note, we should change that for the next week. Don't do that one again. And then I forgot, and then some of you guys saw it when it popped up on Wodify, and then I changed it at like two or three. And I'm like, no, 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 we're doing this
Yeah.
because it should all be changeable, right? You know, sometimes when you got it's a bloodbath, I have to make the change, but other times I have to be like, well, if they die, they die, you know, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, I think the last time we had an intense workout like that were those clean doubles at 90% just before states, a couple weeks before states,
Yeah.
to start our taper.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was a great day. Any day where everybody is making noises that I've never heard you guys make before, I'm like, oh, this is a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's a day where you guys didn't even have to like push each other for effort. Everybody was just fighting to survive. Like, I really like those days. We can't do them every week,
No.
or every session. But it's like I feel like every now and then. I don't know, what do you think? Don't you feel like you need every now and then? You just need a day like that where it's like,
Yeah, that's the thing where even if it's, I think we had a while ago where we would do the pausing at the knees on the way up for like snatches, and week by week, like nobody was going through making all of them,
yeah,
and it was really hard. But I loved it every time that we did it because yeah, I think we needed to be sometimes what all you get out of something is just the mental strength from it.
yeah,
Sometimes you got to have the barbell, you got to miss every now and then to show yourself that you can do the hard thing anyway.
yeah. It's. I know some people they don't like the miss at all, but like there's a lot of value in the miss, and sometimes you'll miss it, and you'll know. You guys know now at this point a rough idea technically of why you missed it,
Yeah.
or you may just tell yourself you didn't try on that one,
Yeah.
and had it been 5 or 10 kilos lighter, you would have just got away with it. But now this is a weight where you can't get away with it.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the third rep, no one's going to save you except for yourself. And I think that's an important part of programming. It's like, hey, crap, we have 20 seconds, so you got to get out there, Miguel. They just called your name. I don't know what happened. People jumped. Just go and do it. Nix your whole setup. Just go and pull on that bar, and you've been in harder situations than that.
Yeah.
At weights that were probably really close to whatever the weight is on the competition platform.
Hmm.
You know, doing things that like would astonish most people. I'm like, I don't even know how he got under that bar. Like, I think it builds a certain amount of grit and toughness that is important.
Yeah.
Because competition, on the field of play, who knows what's going to happen? We all go in with an idea and how it all should work out, and then there's just chaos at the table. The meat's having issues. We have to adapt to all of that stuff, and you guys don't get frazzled by, I think, really any stuff in competitions, do you?
No, I
I don't,
mean
I don't want to speak for everybody, but maybe we'll just
they're all
talk about
bound to happen in some form, so
yeah,
you can't do anything when it happens. So you kind
yeah,
of just got to go with it.
yeah, yeah. That's the fun part, Like, hey, Miguel, all right, we got 4 lifts out, and then 7 seconds later, Miguel, we got to go. Hurry, run, run. It's
Yeah.
like I didn't realize that the Tyrannosaurus Rex paddock was open. Run for the
Yeah.
car. We got to go right now. You know, that's how it always feels like from the movies. Where all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, the Raptors are out. We got to go. We got to go.
Yeah.
It's we're in danger now. I thought we were safe, but we were in danger. They figured out how to open the doors. I've been wanting to watch Jurassic Park recently, so it's fresh on my mind. So yeah, awesome stuff. Good discussion on coaching. We know what we're going to do now. The game plan for the AO finals. That'd be super funny if I wake up tomorrow morning and there's a text from you like, I'm doing it. Like that'd just be funny now after this whole talk. You're like, I was up all night. I can't stop thinking about it. I need to go and get it. And it's
Yeah.
like, all right, I told you I was ready for anyone. But yeah, well, I think that's a good place to kind of end it. Unless you have any other things you want to talk about today.
No, I think we covered it.
Cool. Well, Miguel, where can people follow you?
I'm on Instagram at couldn't be Miguel.
Couldn't be Miguel. You can see a lot of Miguel's lifting on at Albany CrossFit Barbell Club. So follow the Barbell Club there. Follow me, James A. McDermott. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Miguel, great talking to you again.
Yeah, thank you.